Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I'm excited to share my conversation today with founder of a really interesting jewelry company, a jewelry line. Kayla Horrell is a jewelry designer. She's also a gemologist who graduated from the world-renowned Gemological Institute of America. And I think that's based here in North County, San Diego, which is one of our claims to fame here in San Diego. Kayla's company, or the jewelry design business, is called Baephire. And she was really inspired. She grew up as a fan of Japanese anime from age 7. And she aims to bring this into a very premium jewelry line for fans of anime, video games, and other exclusive subcultures. She's inspired through her unique jewelry designs. And her Instagram page is up. She's just launching the business, just getting it off the ground. And her designs are beautiful and very unique. So I'm excited to share her story. Welcome to the show today, Kayla.
Thank you, Felina. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get into the world of jewelry design. But before we do that, just share a little bit more about you, your background. Maybe tell us, where did you grow up? Where are you from? And then talk a little bit about your work. Prior to this, you were in the world of integrative nutrition, health coaching, body work. I think it's called Bowen. You were a Bowen practitioner.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us what that is. And then we'll obviously get to your business and what you're up to now.
Absolutely. So I grew up in Sacramento, California, and I'm 29 years old now. So this was almost a decade ago. I started to get into body work because I suffered from anxiety and depression during that time. And I discovered this body work called Bowen therapy, and it helped me so much get out of anxiety and get out of that place that I started to learn it. And that also kind of segued me into becoming a certified integrative nutrition health coach. And I started a business doing kind of both of those things very casually. And I thought I wanted to help people do kind of what I did, which was just get out of anxiety and a bad place. And I quickly realized that that just wasn't for me. I wasn't as passionate about it as I thought I would be. And I felt like because I wasn't enjoying it as much as I thought I would, that I wouldn't be as much of service as I thought, because I feel like you have to enjoy what you're doing and be passionate about what you're doing to be the most effective. Yeah. So I wasn't being I wasn't that effective, and I wasn't liking what I was doing. So I kind of wanted to do something more creative with my time. And that is how I got into the world of jewelry and gemstones. And I ended up going to the Gemological Institute of America, and I got my gemology degree there. So we learned a lot about grading and identifying diamonds and colored stones, and it was so much fun. And I also went into the jewelry designer program there and graduated from that. And that is how I became a jewelry designer.
Perfect. Well, I want to ask a few questions before we go into your business. You know, it's interesting you talk about your time in body work and integrative nutrition. I do meet a lot of entrepreneurs who I sometimes kind of have this phrase, Kayla, that women in particular oftentimes start businesses either to heal themselves or to help other people. And your story is, one I've definitely heard before, where I'll meet somebody and they really get into a particular study to help to help themselves, heal or something of that nature. And then once they've gone through that process and they've healed, it's kind of like, okay, I did that. Now what's next, right? That doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a lifetime career out of that. So I'm really glad you obviously did that and got the support that you needed. But I'm also glad that you recognize that, this isn't something you have to do for the rest of your life. And there are other things out there.
Yeah, exactly. And also designing jewelry can, in my own way, I feel like can be of more service than me being a health coach or a body worker, simply because I feel that if you are joyful about it and you are expressing yourself and taking care of yourself, then other people will resonate with that. And you might just affect more people in that way than if you were, bogged down in this career that didn't necessarily light you up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely it's scalable, right? I mean, you can touch the lives of many more people because it's a product and not a service. So let's get into the business. Talk about the name Baephire, and that's spelled Baephire. What's in the name of the business?
Well, it took me 6 months to come up with that name because nothing stuck. And this one just clicked one day. And that's kind of what I was hoping for, to get that feeling of just this clicks. And I came up with this through wordplay with the word sapphire, because sapphire is my favorite stone of all time, blue sapphire, because it reminds me of dragons, and it reminds me of a childhood book called Aragon that I read when I was 13, and I still love that book today. So it's kind of a play on the word sapphire, but I wanted it to kind of evoke a bold, like, fantasy feel, and kind of appeal to both male and female. So I put the B in front of sapphire because it's bold, and I like the way it looks. And then I just played with that word, and Baephire came out, and I liked the spelling of B-A-E. It kind of makes me think of Bay, kind of a word of endearment. But and then fire, it's like sapphire, but also like a dragon fire. So I kind of designed my logo around a dragon eye and fire as well. So it kind of encompasses all of that.
I love it. Thank you for explaining. I appreciate it. And let's talk about the jewelry line. From my understanding and what I've read, Kayla, this is more like it's not like a custom order necessarily, but it's not like a mass production situation. Like, talk about your approach to the market.
Right. So I wanted something premium for my audience. I wanted them to have something that they could be proud of owning, and they could own it for the rest of their lives, and it'll look just as good as the day they first bought it. And I also wanted them to really resonate with the message behind it, which is to be yourself, to choose to be you out in the world, and kind of blend the world of who you are outside of the house when you're at work or you're at school or whatever that may be. And then when you go home, you might feel like a kid again. You might be watching anime, playing video games. But I feel like my jewelry kind of blends those two people that you feel like you are together, so that you can be more fully yourself out in the world. And my approach to producing this is a more custom nature, especially when it comes to the rings.
Okay.
Because of the nature of rings, they're all such different sizes, and so it's kind of a made-to-order process. And I launch the rings once a month, and then people order them for a period of time, and then I close that, and then I produce them then send them out.
Got it. So limited edition of a particular style. That's great.
Exactly.
And then do you mind going into a little bit for folks that have no idea. And I have a little insight to this because my mom actually makes jewelry.
Awesome.
But talk about kind of like the manufacturing process, if you will. Obviously, you design, and I've seen in some of your videos, and I want to come back to this whole world of YouTube here in a minute, but I've seen in some of your videos, you had to teach yourself CAD and design and all these things. Talk about that process of actually, designing it visually, and then what does it take to actually make it?
Yeah. So first I come up with a design in my head, and then I kind of just sketch it on a piece of paper, just to get down kind of what I want it to look like. And then I go into the computer aided design process, which is really where everything happens. I determine, the exact millimeter that I want everything, and I need to make sure that it's 100% producible, manufacturable, because sometimes, something looks big in CAD, and then you 3D print it, and it's like a hair length. So you really have to know how big everything is, and then what it's going to look like on someone's finger or on a chain necklace. So I do that process, and then I send a file to a company, a 3D printing company, and they 3D print it in high resolution. And then I have them send that 3D print to a casting house, who then casts it in whichever metal I choose, such as silver, gold, or platinum. And then they send it to me, and it's an unfinished raw piece, and then I have to give it to my jeweler, who then finishes it in whichever way I ask them to, or set any stones that I need, and then it's a finished product.
Awesome. Thanks for describing that. So it's really quite a process, and I would imagine takes quite a bit of time and fine tuning.
It does, because you're dealing with a lot of different companies, and it passes through quite a few hands before it gets to the customer. So a lot of things could go wrong, and you really have to iron out all the wrinkles in that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to come back to, you're just launching this business, just getting it off the ground. And I've seen in some of your videos, thank you for expressing that this is not easy, right? You don't just like wake up one morning and like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. There's like 8,000 things that it takes to actually get a business off the ground, especially in a product-based business, because you have, that it's costly, right? You've got to put out money up front to, get products made, etc. But all the decisions, accounting and legal and all these things. So talk about, share the real deal behind the scenes of just some of the things that you've learned, or any advice for others of things that, you maybe have been learning the hard way.
Yes. So it turns out there's a lot to starting business, and there's a lot of paperwork you need to do. Although I will say, it is not as hard as it seems when you first start. Just put one foot in front of the other, and everything will eventually kind of pan out. And then you'll look back and you'll realize how much you've actually done, and how it wasn't that difficult, just a bit time consuming. But yes, there's so much to consider. You do have to do accounting, and you have to do kind of all the legal stuff behind everything. You have to make your website and learn different programs, maybe, especially because, everyone's online now, doing Instagram ads and email newsletters and websites. So if you're kind of a one-woman show, then you might need to learn Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or Final Cut Pro. There's lots of programs you might need to learn to kind of push out these marketing and efforts. And then, of course, building your product and designing and producing and coordinating with all the different people that you rely on now. And then, of course, paying them. and all your time goes to this. So, you don't have much time for anything else. So it's not easy at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It can be exhilarating. And I know, as somebody who's been an entrepreneur for over 16 years, I'm proudly unemployable, I like to say at this point. But yeah, there are a lot of moving parts to a business. So thank you for sharing the real deal on that. I want to circle back around to YouTube.
Okay.
So, a lot of entrepreneurs have been, trying to master this platform, sharing their story. What's interesting is YouTube, for certain types of businesses or certain types of people, has a massive, massive following, right? And everybody's kind of fascinated by, people that make their living on YouTube, essentially. So you've built quite a following on YouTube. You have about 15,000 subscribers. There are folks out there that have 1 million or several million subscribers, but 15,000 is quite a few. And I see you have a fair bit of engagement on your videos. I know you're talking about ramping up your videos again as you launch your business, and talking about the behind the scenes there. Just share any insights you have for other entrepreneurs that are listening, that are interested in, growing their following on YouTube, or, sharing their story on YouTube. Any insights that you have or things you'd want to convey?
Yeah. So if you want to start on YouTube, I say just go for it right now. I've been on YouTube for, I want to say, about 5 years now, and it's taken that long to get up to 15,000. And this is me posting pretty consistently, and then sometimes kind of falling off and then coming back. And so you can grow it faster than 5 years, but it does take time and it takes consistency. And I am under the belief that there is no fast track to YouTube, because the algorithm on YouTube is always changing. And that means that your videos may not be being seen in recommended, on the side, if you've ever been on YouTube, or on home pages or anything like that. So your discovery may be quite low depending on what you're doing. So really what you have to do, the only tried and true way to grow on YouTube, is to consistently post and constantly engage with the platform. And eventually people will start watching you and you will be seen. And then the more you grow, the more you grow. So just keep going. I do not believe there is a real YouTube hack. I really do not. But the best thing you can do on YouTube is be yourself and offer real value and entertainment for people.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I want to touch on something, and a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of women specifically, are not as confident as they should be in who they are and what their message is. And we as women sometimes over scrutinize ourselves of, looks, and, which is, obviously we need to be more confident in who we are and sharing our message. That's why at Hera Hub, we do things like the video challenge to get people comfortable on video. I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, like, I don't know how to position myself. I'm worried about lighting. I'm worried about all these things. And what I love about your videos is, number one, they're super raw. They're super authentic. You're sharing what you are thinking. It's not like you just, spent 5 hours polishing this, 3-minute pitch. And they're also longer. I mean, everybody I talk to is like, you can't, push a video out that's over 3 minutes. People don't have the attention span. And I love that some of your videos are like 15, 20 minutes. I mean, you're like going places, you're doing things, and you're really sharing behind the scenes. So just in continuing this, what are you seeing on YouTube? Obviously the message you're sharing and other YouTubers, as far as, this more authentic approach to video?
Yeah, so I've been there where I planned out my video. This is when I first started. I would plan, and I would sometimes even script a little bit, and I would edit like crazy, and it didn't feel good. It didn't feel authentic, and I would watch it and I would cringe to myself because it simply was not what I wanted. Mm. So I started to just kind of throw all of that away, and I just started to be more of myself. And actually, when I started to do that, I got more views and more engagement than I had when I was scripting everything. And I think, of course, know your audience and know what they're going on YouTube for. My audience in particular, I know that they just want to sit down, relax. Maybe they're at home, or maybe they're in a doctor's office or something like that, and they just want to sit back and relax and, watch someone be really authentic and live their life. And so they're willing to sit there, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, and just watch a 20-minute video. Now, if you're doing some sort of a tutorial or something that might lose engagement, it might fall off and people might click out of it, then of course you want to make it short and sweet. But if it just really depends on your goal in making your video, and then who your audience is. And also, I will say, if you're just starting out, and a lot of us women really do have confidence issues, and it's hard to get in front of a camera and then watch yourself back and see yourself talk, and maybe the lighting is unflattering, and so just do it. And the great thing about YouTube is when you first start, no one's going to watch you.
Yep.
So that is a blessing in disguise. Do not think that no one's interested. It is a blessing. Embrace it, because once you get to the point where people are watching you, you're going to have exercised your confidence so frequently that at that point, you've probably gotten so much better at being in front of a camera, talking. Your lighting's probably better just naturally. Everything's going to be more up to par. So just, take your phone even and just start filming yourself, whatever video you want to make, and just don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just get it up and get it out there.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about monetization. I noticed you run ads on your videos. If you don't mind sharing, obviously you don't have to get into like exact numbers here, of course, but frankly, are you making money on YouTube? I know some people make their whole salary on YouTube.
Yeah, so my boyfriend actually makes his entire salary on YouTube, so I kind of do understand what is possible there. I don't make that much on YouTube, and I never got into it to make money. I got into it kind of to express myself.
Sure.
And actually, he did as well. He did it for fun, and now he just happens to have grown it into like this huge thing. But yes, you can run ads on your video. And of course, if you have tens of thousands of views, and if you have premium ads on there, you could be making a substantial amount of money. And maybe that is your business, is just YouTube. For me, I use it as just another platform, just like I use Instagram. So yeah, but monetization is very easy. You can do it right off the bat. You don't have to be a partner or anything like that anymore. And you just have to make sure that you're not using any copyrighted video or any copyrighted music or anything like that. Everything has to be yours, or you need to give credit where credit is due, and you might get copyright claims if you put, music on there. And you just have to make it appropriate, because they will demonetize you if you have anything in there that is not advertiser friendly, is what they call it. So if you're cussing a lot, or, violence or vulgarity, you might get demonetized. And yeah, so
Yeah. Things
yeah.
cautionary if you're going to get into that. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So let's wrap back around to your business. Thank you for the bit of a YouTube tutorial there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's on the horizon for Baephire? I know you're just getting it off the ground. You're just launching. What are some of the things you're most looking forward to for 2020?
I am most looking forward to getting my website up and running with all of my brand story, plastered across it and my photos up there and just have it all come together. I will be launching rings and pendants in 2020, chains, all sorts of things. So I'm really excited for that. That's at www.baephire.com. And you can also find me on Instagram right now at Baephire.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing part of your story with us today, Kayla.
Thank you so much, Willingness.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.